You know, that night when the man sat on his balcony and began observing his chitta, perhaps even he didn't realize that this wouldn't be a one-day affair. The chitta is not a book that you read one chapter of and then close. The chitta is a diary where every page is folded inward. Behind every page, there is a story, and behind every story, there is pain or desire or incompleteness. Anyway, after that night, the man began sitting every day for a short while. For a few minutes, he would watch his breath, then observe the mind, and then the emotions arising in the chitta. At first, it felt quite easy, but slowly he understood that the mind is not as cooperative as it pretends to be. The mind is like a politician. It says one thing, does another, shows something else, and the real agenda is completely different. One day, as he sat, the mind started misbehaving, like a child climbing onto the dining table and saying, "Now try catching me." The mind thought, "Why is this man going towards the chitta every day? What's my fault?" The mind is always insecure. It feels that if the chitta is understood, it might lose its job. So that day, the mind rebelled. The man sat down. The mind stood up. "Don't sit right now. First check your phone. There might be an important message. And that new episode of the series just came out. Come on, let's watch a little." If you've ever tried meditation, you know this very well. The mind becomes the busiest exactly when you're supposed to sit quietly. The man smiled, seeing the mind's desperation. But he didn't pick up the phone. He simply said calmly, "I'm sitting. You do whatever you want." The mind got even more irritated. "Oh, you won't listen to me? Sign. Now I'll send memories. Remember that embarrassing moment? I'll send that. And that scary scene too. Now let's see if you can still sit." And the mind did exactly that. Suddenly, old sorrows, old fears, old insults, old regrets began rising like an avalanche, as if the mind was saying, "Look what I have brought up. Now tell me, will you still meditate? Cut the courage." For a few moments, the man wavered, because the mind's strategy is classic, attack through distraction. Every time he tried to sit, the mind piled up negative thoughts. But the man did not give up. Perhaps the teacher's voice was echoing inside. "Just keep watching, do nothing. The mind is the actor, you become the spectator." And after some time, the mind got tired. You see, the mind can run endlessly, but it cannot fight endlessly. Fighting requires energy. And when it realized that today this man was not going to be disturbed, the mind sat down slightly sulking. But the chitta was just waiting, like an old room in a house locked for years, and when you suddenly open it, the things inside slowly begin to release their scent. That day, the chitta opened another deep file. This memory was different. It wasn't a story of a specific incident. It was a perception, a belief, a huge pain compressed into one small sentence. "No one is happy with me." The man was surprised. When did this sentence enter me? Who said it? When was it said? And the chitta replied softly, "This is not one voice. It is the mixture of many voices. Parents' expectations, teachers' comparisons, friends' mockery, society's demands, all of these together planted a seed." The mind said, "Everything is fine. What are you lacking?" But the chitta said, "You lack acceptance." Isn't that strange? We spend our entire life searching for validation outside without realizing whom we are really asking it from. Sometimes society, sometimes relatives, sometimes the boss, sometimes a partner. But the hunger for validation was born in the chitta when we were children, and someone failed to give us complete acceptance. The man observed that belief for some time. He didn't fight against it. He didn't argue against it. He didn't try to change it. He simply watched it. And then a miracle happened. Just watching a belief breaks its power. He realized this is a belief, not the truth. Understanding the difference between belief and truth heals half the illness of the chitta. He whispered softly, "I'm okay. I have always been okay. I just mistook others' voices for my own." The chitta grew calm, like ripples in a deep well slowly settling after a stone is dropped. And for the first time, he felt a little emptiness inside, a good kind of emptiness, as if a heavy load had been put down. But the story doesn't end here. In fact, the real story begins now, because the very next day, as the man sat, the chitta opened another file. his first love story. Yes, all of us have such a story in our lives, one without which we feel incomplete and with which we were never completely happy either. The Chitta showed him that face that made his heart race, those conversations, those evenings, those dreams, and then that painful day when everything ended. The mind spoke up. These are old things, what's the point of remembering them? The mind is practical but emotionless. The Chitta is emotional but not practical. The Chitta said, this story never ended. You just moved on. But the lesson you were meant to learn is still incomplete. And what was that lesson? Very simple. Your love was dependency. You were trying to fill your emptiness through another person. The man felt shaken. Was I that immature? The Chitta replied, yes, and even good people are immature. Love is not taught by maturity, it is taught by pain. This time the man cried, because memories of love are never neutral. They are extremely sweet or extremely painful. The mind came to rescue him again. Come on, leave it. Get up, drink some water. I'm telling you, don't get stuck in all this. But he didn't get up, not today. Because now he knew the mind runs away from pain. The Chitta heals pain. He looked at that memory with complete clarity. He let go of dependency. He accepted responsibility. And for the first time, he said to himself, I do not need anyone else to complete me. This sentence was not a dialogue. It was liberation. That day, the Chitta remained very calm. A new space formed within him, a place where he began to see himself without anyone else's influence. Its effect showed up in life differently. The next day, he felt a strange confidence, as if a pillar inside had straightened, as if a burden had been lifted. And the mind was surprisingly happy too, because the mind is happiest when it receives clarity from the Chitta. A few days later, one evening the man met his teacher. The teacher smiled and said, You are moving forward. The man replied, But teacher, sometimes I still feel afraid. The teacher laughed and said, Fear will come. There is a lot suppressed in the Chitta. But remember, every pain of the Chitta takes you closer to your core. And once you find the core, life becomes lighter. The man fell silent in thought. And for the first time, he understood. The mind is a game. The Chitta is a journey. And the one who observes both, that is the real I.
And before we pause here, let me leave you with this. What you've just heard is not a success story. It's the anatomy of inner honesty. This is what happens when you stop negotiating with the mind and start listening to the Chitta. In the next part, we'll go even deeper. We'll explore what happens when old identities begin to dissolve, how fear changes its shape when it's fully seen, and why true freedom doesn't come from becoming someone new, but from returning to who you already are. So stay with the journey, listen to the next part slowly without rushing to conclusions. And if this inner exploration resonates with you, do subscribe to the channel. Not for motivation, not for noise, but for those quiet moments where something inside finally feels understood.